Okay, well, welcome everyone to this month's Coatings Talk. This month it is brought to you by Jobba. I'm so excited we have Zach here from Jobba.
Hi.
We're talking about tech and how to boost your business using
Yeah,
technology. I'm really excited, Zach.
me
Uh,
too. It's a good
let
topic.
it is with everything going on with AI.
Totally.
Have to be in front of everything right now. So let's dive in and just have you introduce yourself to
Yeah,
start out.
100%. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, there's a blurb on the screen if anyone wants to read it, but in summary, I was one of the co-founders along with my family of our legacy product FCS. So I've been in the roofing software industry about 17 years now. And so I pretty much just spend my days working with contractors, helping facilitate, getting the right software solution implemented into their business and then I work with people to help, optimize their experience beyond that too, right? So when I found out that this was the topic we were going to do, it was just naturally such a great fit. So I'm just excited to hopefully bring some value to everyone today.
I'm sure you will.
We'll
And
try.
just so everyone knows, the chat is open. So if you have questions throughout the presentation today, please feel free to throw them in the chat or, some comments, chats, whatever. We'll be able to get to those either throughout or at the end. Either way, we'll be answering your questions. So don't be afraid and don't be shy. Um, Okay, so let's, level set the stage here.
Yeah.
What technology trends right now are making waves for roofers?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the big thing, like, and I've seen this evolution going on just with the time I mean, when we were first starting FCS, right, it was like iPhone 2, right? So as everyone was still paper-based, I remember we were initially working with contractors when they were, I mean, it was, and some people will probably laugh at this, but you're using laptops and the digital cameras and the data compilation and having to bring all of that back into the office. And so over the last, say decade plus, I've seen big trends in the direction of, initially it was just CRMs, right? Having any software program at all was a big deal, and we've come a long way since then. I would say modern day trends that we typically see. AI is obviously becoming a big up and coming thing. I don't know that we're all the way there yet in the industry, but it's a direction that I think everyone's excited about. I'm
Yeah.
familiar with some pretty practical applications, but other than that, it's really just still trying to get a bulk of contractors off manual paper-based models, right? So like implementing databases and CRMs and connectivity between the field and the office, those are some of the biggest things that I typically see are making waves right now.
Yeah, yeah. And absolutely, the getting away from paper, especially in those kind of touchier areas like
Yeah,
finances and all that stuff, and really utilizing the tools that are at our fingertips
exactly.
for things like marketing, sales, what have
Well,
you.
and you bring up a good point, right? Is there's a lot of different items. So I would
So
say if we were to identify a big trend that I see right now is people working to try and integrate, right? Is trying to make all your different products and all your different solutions connect together.
mhm.
I think is probably what people are most focused on right now. That and then dialing in accounting, right? There's nothing wrong with QuickBooks and it's better than nothing for sure, but it's completely sufficient for most contractors up into a certain point. So I typically find people have some sort of base right now, and it's about trying to figure out how to optimize it all and then get it to work together.
Yeah, because it can be really overwhelming for a lot of
Yeah.
people. I mean,
Yes.
even
Yes.
myself as someone that like works
Oh
with
yeah.
technology on a daily basis,
Yep.
sometimes you just want to throw your hands up and say,
Totally.
so
No, I don't
that's
need as
why we're
many.
here today.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about how the right technology can support the profitability of a roofing
Totally.
business in these uncertain times.
100%. A big thing like at FCS and Java that we take a focus on. I know the first item here is increased sales, right? And and how does technology help do that? I mean, it's dependent on the type of technology, right? Like we'll be able to get into, some of the other items, but the specific thing I want to talk about right now is with our legacy product FCS, we follow a proprietary business model that we call the FCS lifecycle. The lifecycle is a proven business model that allows contractors to scale more into the private negotiated market and do more with private property management groups and get into that service and maintenance world, right? So one, I would say finding a software that's conducive to the goals of the business. So if you're a residential contractor or a small contractor who wants to migrate into that private world, that service and maintenance world, some stuff like what we offer in FCS and the life cycle model can greatly help with sales. But then beyond that, just from tech in general, I mean, visibility in your CRMs, lead management, connectivity between your different teams, being able to forecast and KPIs and metrics are huge, right? I mean, that's as we transition into this more digital age in the industry. Yeah, these are essential items that I feel people have to get on board with. But then beyond that too, is visibility into the company, right? And being able to track analytics and measure success on jobs and measure performance of your individuals. Like you can do those things without technology, but it makes it a lot harder, right?
So
And
true.
enabling access to data that usually isn't or otherwise wouldn't be available is which I'll talk about a little more. I know we have another topic that's pretty conducive to that too. But
Yeah.
and then I guess I would probably say on the last thing, improving scalability. I mean, we see all the acquisitions going on in the roofing industry these
Yeah.
days, right? You want to make your company repeatable and scalable, which means it's sellable, right? So
Mhm.
beyond the internal benefits, beyond the external benefits that the technology adoption provides, having systems and platforms in place that allow you to scale the business that's the way you do it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We we have a question here from the audience actually.
totally.
What metrics should a company be tracking to make sure their technology investments are actually boosting their
Oh,
profitability?
totally. Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great question. To tracking the technology, I mean, you want to keep up with the implementation and the onboarding. I can't tell you how many contractors I work with that make technology purchases or make decisions on different systems, and then they don't keep up with making sure it gets implemented into the business the right way. So they just end up spending money or wasting money on solutions that they don't end up getting the most out of. And so I would
Yeah.
say, if people, specific metrics, it's going to vary, based on whatever company you are, what your business model is, different things like that. But if I were to put like a generalized answer, I would say just make sure you're actually using the things you buy. It would be
Yeah.
a pretty important one, right?
Yeah, no, that's so true. And making sure that you're not just you, maybe if you're the business owner, but your team is using it and
Right.
it's not adding to their daily time that it's not taking
Exactly.
away from something else important.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, so to the next slide, how
Yeah,
does technology bring convenience to running a roofing business? Let's talk about
totally.
some of that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, let's think about even just something as small as having a centralized, like we use Google Workspace, right? It's where our
Okay.
emails are, it's where our calendar is. It centralizes the data. I'm sure you
Yeah.
guys have, you guys probably have like a CRM or a
Yeah, we
system where
use
everyone works.
Microsoft.
Perfect, exactly. So one is centralizing, right? You want to make sure all your stuff is in the same place, people are working in the same area, and you want visibility, right? And not just generalized communication, but again, visibility. Where are your people? What are they doing? And being able to make sure everyone's accessible, right? And
Yeah.
then that kind of then segues into then what do you do with it all, right? You
Yeah.
have everything in one place, and that's where you can then start to measure these metrics and implement KPIs and things like you hear about key performance index and people what is that? What does that even mean? Like I have sales goals. The guys got to sell this much every month, or we got to bid
Yeah.
on this many jobs, but you know, um, I think just centralizing the data is the first step. Um, and then you can worry about what to do with it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, that would probably be the biggest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are some tools that you see out there in the market that simplify the communication between field crews and office staff?
Oh, 100%. I mean, my personal favorite one's probably either FCS or Java.
Mm.
But hey, little plug. But other than that, I mean, there's other tools, right? I mean, Company Cam is very popular.
Yes.
That's a program that a lot of our clients actually use within our application.
Okay.
And yeah, bridging the gap between the field and the office to me is one of the first steps people need to take in getting into this is centralizing the data and then bridging that gap.
Yeah.
But I would say FCS, Java, like a company cam. And if you're not ready for anything like that too, use like just get like a Google Drive, or if you use, Microsoft and you want to use
Yeah.
365 or whatever, but have a place where everything can go. Because the guys in the field, right? Like
Yeah.
they can still just take the pictures on their phone. I mean, if you really
Yeah.
wanted to, a contractor could have an iCloud account
Yeah.
where they just take all the pictures and it syncs but they got to have people on staff that can help them do that or be able to get access to resources like, there's a lot of groups and companies and partners out there that you can work with that can help optimize that experience and find what's right for each contractor. But I think it's hard to just generalize because so many contractors are so different. But I would say that's a big one. And yeah, I see here. I'm trying to look at the comments as we're going.
Yeah.
Couple comments about Company Cam and
Yeah.
absolutely, it's that's a great tool and resource. But again, if you're not ready to commit to subscriptions or whatever, there's other ways you can simplify
Yeah.
stuff still too.
Yeah. There's the Apple like you can do a shared photo album
Right. Yep.
if you're desperate. I
Exactly.
love the Google Drive idea. And then
100%.
so it's good to know. So you Java and FCS have like integrations
Yeah.
with other companies. So that's great to know. So you can
Yeah.
kind of build like a tech stack.
Exactly. Yeah, and a lot of tools these days too. Just, there's Chrome extensions, or there's just, and we are excited with FCS and both with Java of our API capabilities.
Hmm.
The importance of being able to bridge these gaps is huge, but you'd be surprised what you can get away without having to have a integration, right? That's kind of an
Yeah.
intimidating word, and it can be sometimes. But there's a lot of tools and resources that can still just work together from the like what I'm specifically referencing is Company Cam. They have a Google Chrome extension, right?
Okay.
FCS is a Google Chrome backed system. So when you're in the office or you're logged in on your desktop browser using Google Chrome, you can have your Company Cam extension right there on your bar at the top on your extension bar. And while you're working through FCS, you can just load photos right from it, right? It's not that we worked with Company Cam to build this special integration. It's just the way these tools work these days, right?
Yeah,
So
we work
it's
together.
good stuff. Yeah. And especially like accounting programs, and a lot of people get caught up in the verbiage and the language of integration. And there's probably other areas. Well, I think we touch on finance later, so I'll save it for
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so um let's talk about specifically small businesses, how
Yeah,
some of these technologies can help augment resources for small business.
totally. Yeah, 100%. You want to, I guess we'll start with labor. I mean, labor costs for small businesses, again, if you can bridge the gap between the field and the office to be able to plug these things together, it's going to save the time and hassle of your guys having to come back, load all the data, transfer it to someone else. It reduce the amount of times that they have to go back to job sites because they forgot this. Just I'm of the mind of take all the photos, document everything while you're there, and do the best you can, right? Um, but then like these tools too, especially on the topic of labor, is getting better visibility into that. Like we have a specific report inside of FCS that's like one of our advanced service reports that tracks labor and material profitability of your service crews. So it's going to go through and give you access to if your guys are taking a little too long to do a repair or they're wasting too many materials, you'll have the visibility on that to know like, oh, they might need more training, right? But in terms of just like reduce labor costs, just streamlining everything, right? Your guys aren't sitting there having to spend time uploading pictures or sending it to the office, or which is massive, right? And I think that saves a tremendous amount of time in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things.
Yeah, that's so huge. That's
Yeah,
because time is money, like you said.
exactly. You get 100%. And then, I
Um,
mean, yeah, if you want to talk about the DIY,
no, I was just gonna prompt you because I'm so excited to hear what you have to say about
yeah,
all these different programs like Squarespace, Canva. There's some AI things we were talking about in our practice, so take it
totally.
away.
Yeah, no, these are all just great tools. Like I was saying, I mean, ideally, if you can get into a centralized platform, that's the go-to. Get something like FCS or Java or whatever your preference is. But beyond that, there are so many solutions available to people that can provide so much benefit. I mean, yeah, Canva, for example, I know most people in a creative space love Canva. Being
Yeah,
able to design new flyers or new brochures or like do good maintenance agreements or better re-roof proposals or presentations for budget meetings with clients, or
yeah,
there's just so much you can do with it. It just you just got to get in there and play around. They've
yeah.
made these programs so much less intimidating these days, where it's like you can just sign up and start creating stuff, you know.
So
um
true.
I know. And just like the use of like different like chat GPT, for example, can be such a great resource to help you price out jobs or answer questions. I mean, like I use chat GPT like my new Google these days, right? Like just
Wow.
go in and ask it the question and work through it. It's these resources are available and they're vast. And so
Yeah,
you know, and there's so much more. I mean, you start looking at Squarespace and building out your website, like there's all the plugins in the world that you could possibly need for scheduling, for appointments, for taking payments, for, you know, processing whatever. And so getting reports, analytics, it chat bots, it's all available. And I realize a lot of times, you know, not every roofing company in the world is equipped with individuals that, you know, can figure all this stuff out. But
yeah,
like I said, there's resources that can help you figure
yeah.
it out. So
Yeah. I always say if you have someone, a 20-year-old in your office,
yep. They'll
recruit
figure it out.
them
Yep.
they'll figure it out, recruit them. I
Yep.
put the link to Canva in the chat in case anyone hasn't
Totally.
heard of it and wants to check it out. It's like a graphic design website where you can really easily make your own designs and do all sorts of stuff like posters, flyers, brochures, like Zach said. And it's so awesome. I love it.
It's a very, very helpful tool.
It really is. Okay, so we had a question from John Kenny. Hey, John.
Yeah. What's up,
What
John?
what email products integrate with your systems?
Oh, absolutely. That is a great question. So like I said earlier, we're super excited about our new API capabilities, which is just an open API. So I mean, the most popular ones are probably going to be Gmail and Outlook. You know, of being able to set up integrations to where, because like in FCS, for example, it's we have it tied in through Mailgun so that when you send an email from the system, it's going to come from your natural email and paste a copy of it into the notes of the record. And
Nice.
then when the customer responds, it just goes into your email. But with the new API capability, you could have that email paste back and have the full conversation right there inside of your FCS notes category. So I would say the two most popular ones being Outlook and Gmail, just knowing that those have connectivity availability. I don't know. I'm sure some people use Yahoo. I haven't tried it personally, meaning like I've used Yahoo. I haven't tried to like integrate with Yahoo, but I
Yeah.
can't imagine that it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And does anyone still use Hotmail?
I don't know. What about AOL?
AOL. Oof. I do have a friend, an older gentleman that I help with his computers and stuff sometimes,
That's
and he
awesome.
uses AOL still. Yeah, I collect football cards sometimes, and so he's a guy I met in the industry, and he always calls me, "Hey, I can't get my computer going," so I try and help him. You know, yeah, he's using AOL still. Little
I
wild.
love it.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool.
Good for him. Okay, so how would you say tech is changing labor in the industry and how people hire people or
Yeah.
find labor, all that stuff?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the first one, do more with less. I mean, that's a fantastic point to all of this is the software might as well, and I don't ever advocate for like replacing employees. That's not what I'm saying. But a
Right.
good software stack can do the job of a couple people, right? And so it's like being able to enable these things for your business can make everyone so much more efficient and just take you that much further.
Mhm.
Time management, I mean, visibility, right? Being able to see if people are going over, how much time they're spending on jobs, being able to project and forecast on a large job on a daily basis, what's the hours being consumed, right? I mean, otherwise you're just kind of guessing on a daily basis throughout the span of the project. Sometimes these projects go, 30, 60 days plus, larger jobs. And, and then you start looking at service, and you're doing time and material billing, calculating the time and the travel and the labor, having all of that automated and centralized. The benefits of getting paid faster, are all vast. But then beyond that, just the ability to have the transparency and the visibility that you need for it all. So and then lead collection. I mean, in terms of let me see, what did we mean for lead collection in labor?
I think like how um people are following up with leads
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
how they're coming in and how that the
Totally.
the
Like an
customer.
ability to get to people quicker. You have a customer goes on your website and fills something out, and you get notified right on your phone. And
Yeah.
your speed to lead. Anyone in a sales capacity should be familiar with that phrase. Speed to lead is everything. If someone reaches out to your business and want to interact and do business with you, you need to get on them, right? And
Yeah.
instead of waiting to check your voicemails at the end of the day, or going in and only checking your email once a day, having these devices that give you connectivity, you can speed delete. I mean, we here, if someone fills out like a demo request and they want to look at the software, I try to get to it immediately, but if it goes longer than 10, 20 minutes, it's to me not, and sometimes people are on meetings, you do the best you can. But to me, if a lead comes in, you drop everything and reach out to that customer.
Yeah, yeah, that's great philosophy for everyone out there that's listening that's like, okay, this is all great, but how do I implement all of this? Like where do they go? Maybe somewhere like Java or FCS to
Mhm.
implement technology like this to get that speed to lead process going.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of where do they go to do it? Like I said, John's on here. He's a great resource of being able to help people dial this in, because this all sounds great in theory, right? Like all of these benefits, but you got to practically be able to implement it. And in order to
Yeah.
practically be able to implement it, your business needs to be positioned correctly. You have to have the right goals. You have to have the right processes. You have to have the right drive and reasons that you're doing these things. So there's another individual, Jim Rizzo, that is offering software optimization services. He's been in the industry 17 years and has a company called Exo Impact Solutions that helps optimize software experiences. And John Kenny, that's here listening in, works with customers to be able to help them on the business side of making sure that everything's dialed in. So if anyone's, out there and you're trying to achieve these type of benefits and you're looking to get these type of results and you're not sure where to start, there's experienced individuals in the industry, and I'm happy to help anyone too that has questions. I'm an open book. I'm happy to help anyone, but find a dedicated resource that can help you
Yeah.
navigate this field, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're looking to, get a program like Java,
Yeah,
company FCS, what have you, um, your teams are there and dedicated
100%.
to in the implementation
A
of the
100%.
technology.
Yeah, and that's it's essential in my opinion to
Yeah.
that you need to be involved in the implementation process, and you need to work with your provider to ensure that success. So like if someone purchases FCS or Java, for example, we have, and it's the biggest department in our company, is the onboarding and training and customer
Yeah.
support. Is we do kickoff calls where we go through your goals and your objectives and making
Okay.
sure that we're lining up the software with where the business wants to go. And then it's hand holding in a way where we walk through the training training, and sometimes people want to move fast and they want to get going, and I love the urgency and the excitement, but we also want to make sure that things are done right. You want to make sure the system's set up correctly, that your settings are configured the right way, that you're dialed in from the beginning so that you don't have to backtrack later on. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's absolutely true. We try and work with people as much as we possibly can.
Yeah. Have you seen any contractors that you're working with or just in the industry? Have you seen them use technology like ChatGPT or what have you to better onboard and train their employees that they're hiring, their new people?
I haven't seen many people do it successfully yet, but
Okay.
you bring up very good points that it can, right?
Yeah.
It 100% can, in my opinion. I mean, there's we'll talk, AI is a vast, broad term, right? You think of AI and some people think of ChatGPT or what you get from Gemini when you Google something.
Yeah.
But beyond that, there's so much more. I mean, you look at tools like I think you actually use this too, is like Otter, right?
Oh yeah.
Otter can join your meetings and make like documents, like not just write the notes of what you guys talked about, but it can like take screens. Like when I do my demos and present software, it can make me a training guide by the time I'm done, right? So it's like leveraging the software, the AI software capabilities so much more than what you even think off the top is possible,
Yeah.
really can go a long way. And so in terms of getting people trained and onboarded, haven't seen anyone like do it super successfully yet, but these things are new, right? And I fully anticipate that people will start utilizing this for training for their guys. I mean, just think of like documenting a service repair, right? You could record the repair being completed and load it to an AI program similar to Otter, and it'll spit you out a training guide. And now you have a here's how to reflash this roof repair, or here's how to repatch this roof puncture, or whatever it might be. And then you've got documentation, you've got guides, you have walkthroughs, and then you have a system where you can attach it, make it accessible to people, or put it in your Google Drive. So the opportunities with these things, like I said, are vast. It's just about we're in such an early stage with that. And the roofing industry has always commonly been a handful of years behind what we see in a more consumer environment. Um, so I think it's all coming. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe this webinar is the start. Maybe we're
Hopefully, yeah,
hired someone. You never
right.
know.
Maybe someone heard that and they go make some
Yeah.
training manuals on roof
Yeah.
repairs. Love it. I
An
think I
idea.
saw Michael Black in here. Do that for your text, man.
Yes, yes, I love it. Hey, Michael. Okay, so kind of on that note of AI
Yeah,
and how technologies like Java and FCS and Canva, what have you, um,
totally.
how can they lighten the task load for people? These day-to-day tasks, how can they be lightened with technology?
I mean, the buzzword would be streamline, right? Is
Yes.
do you want to streamline these processes, right? You want to reduce your day-to-day load for, let's say, let's start with payroll and accounting, but we'll focus more on accounting. Let's say invoicing. I'm big on the service and maintenance world, so I'm going to reference like a time and material ticket.
Okay.
Um, as opposed to having let me get a piece of paper. Instead of having your technician come back to the office and go, here's what I did on this job. Here's how long I was there, and here's what I did. And then someone in the office has to sit and try and translate what they wrote on their scratch paper, put it
Yeah.
into QuickBooks, develop an invoice, and appropriately bill the customer for the time to just have them because they all use their phones. A lot of people say, "Oh, my text will never do that." They know how to use Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. They can figure out how to punch in to a job, right? I
Yep.
know they can. And as opposed to just having them fill it out on their phone, and then the office can just have it translate the time automatically, where you get to a position of reviewing invoices and approving them as opposed to creating them, documenting them, transcribing everything
Yeah.
is very important. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's so important. And
yeah.
how can estimating be positively affected by some of these technologies?
That's a big one, and
Yeah,
probably one of the most important items in most roofing companies, right, is being able to price out these jobs. Um, Standardizing, right? Being able to have estimating templates or standard estimating workflows, or even just, I know most people, I like to say that Excel or spreadsheets is the most popular estimating tool out there. There's the Edge,
right.
FCS has an estimating tool, Java has an estimating tool. There's various other residential ones. Most people use spreadsheets though. And so the ability to standardize and make sure that within your organization that people are estimating the same way and the same
Yeah,
methodologies. No, depend and have different ones. Various roofing systems require different components, require different templates. Um, I'm a big fan of John Kenny's work that he does. He actually specifically teaches people how to build these estimating templates and have all of that in place. So that's, again, sorry, my cat's jumping in. I will, I'll promote that there too. But yeah, having good streamlined estimating systems and workflows is essential in my opinion.
yeah. We got a question here from the audience.
Yeah.
Are there any apps or platforms that are especially useful for managing subcontractor work?
Subcontractors. Interesting. In FCS specifically, I will say we do have an area that allows you to work with different subcontractors and manage relationships with them. So jobs, opportunities they've been involved in, jobs you've invited them to. So FCS has a really good one. Java has a really good subcontractor model too. In terms of standalone systems, though, I'm not super familiar with a ton of them other than outside of what we have available, because
Yeah.
I don't know that there are a ton of independent ones. I'm sure we could come up with some good additional methods, but like I said, FCS has it built in pretty well where you can
That's awesome.
essentially have like a whole profile for the subcontractor and have notes and their contact information and track jobs you've given them. That's a very helpful resource.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's okay, and then we have actually another question here from the
Yeah.
audience. Do you see the rise of AI changing the kind of roles roofing companies are hiring for?
AI changing the roles that roofing companies are hiring for. I mean, I don't know about AI specifically, but technology for sure. Like we
Hmm,
talked about earlier, right? Find a
yeah.
20-year-old, find find someone young that you can drop into the company and that
Yeah,
can pick these things up. But I think drastically. I mean, looking for someone that has, it's if you had two candidates and one of them just has all the roofing knowledge and the other one has the roofing knowledge plus has the ability to utilize software or some basic level of understanding of technology, in my mind that person should win every time.
yeah,
So I mean, I think it for sure should, if it's not, just because everyone's different, I think they should probably rethink it.
yeah,
If I owned a roofing company, I would for sure be trying to leverage people's skill sets and only hire people that were capable of, maybe not only, but predominantly hire people that were capable of doing those sort of things.
yeah. Yeah, and I think ultimately too, you know, things in your company that you do specifically can be taught. Roofing can be taught, whereas
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the technology is a little harder to grasp onto.
Right.
So finding that person that might not even have the full roofing knowledge, but has the technology knowledge is
Totally.
is a plus. Okay, and we
It
have
can go a long way.
yeah, we have another question here.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for the questions. Do any of the pre-built estimating tools have APIs that identify real-time price changes for material?
Not as much. You don't see it as frequently in the commercial world. In residential, you do. A lot of, like, I think AccuLynx has live integrations with GAF and a couple other providers. So I would look for that, but I would say most estimating solutions these days, again, mostly in the residential capacity, and I think it'll start to happen more in commercial, but definitely do, where they have those integrations with the back end, because all the material data is stored, right? So they
Yeah,
can link those things up. And if not, if you're using a program that that doesn't have that built in, it doesn't mean you can't work out ways to make it connect. Like when we talk about integrations and stuff earlier, like you could use a middleware like Zapier and connect it to just like a private spreadsheet that you own and just house your own pricing lists right there and feed the data back and forth. So there's honestly, the possibilities are endless of what you can do, with this, especially with the landscape of where things are today.
Yeah. Great news, endless opportunities. Not
Endless.
so great news, endless opportunities.
Yep, 100%, 100%. I think that's
Um,
great news.
yeah, it is great news. Okay, so what are some of these easily implemented softwares that have the high
Totally.
ROI?
100%. We'll start with the first one, CRMs. I'm gonna, like I said, FCS, Java, our
Yes.
life cycle model that separate, I think, is a huge differentiator when you start talking about ROI.
Yeah.
Is not just the because ROI is big, right? Is how do you measure that? Is it just internal benefits that you're looking for? Is it the external benefits you can provide to your customers to help you increase sales? It's very encompassing. To me, though, I would say FCS or Java as a primary CRM. If you're residential, AccuLinks or Leap or Job Progress, there's so many different residential tools that are available. But having a dedicated CRM and centralized system would be your number one. You're going to recognize a massive return on that investment. Then you start looking at payment platforms, right? Depending on your accounting program, you probably have like a payment processing system built into it, like QuickBooks uses Intuit, and there's Stripe, and then if you're using your website, a Squarespace, you can plug in whatever. So there's tons of them. But in looking at that too, like payment platforms, how can you track ROI in a payment platform? You could help reduce pay cycles by being able to have digital invoices that you can send to people that they can just fill out electronically. Or, I have some clients too that'll take electronic invoices and they'll put the link into their FCS invoice so that the customer can just click and go do it. Or, there's a lot
Right.
of great things with that. And then project management is that's vast. Being able to electronically get a hold of these jobs, store and track cloud documents for there's so many documents and different items that you need to manage when you're doing a large roof replacement job. Being able to send, oh, let me fix my blur on my camera. Being able to centralize, I noticed it. Being able to centralize all of that is so important. And then scheduling and visibility, and there's all of these things that should have a vast ROI. I always say to my customers that with FCS and Java, if the system isn't paying for itself, you're not using it right. And I believe that that should apply to any piece of software that you're implementing into your company. If it's not paying, if the monthly subscription does not cover its cost at a bare minimum, then you're not doing it right, because these tools are built to improve your company. They're not, someone didn't just make this software and think like, oh, this isn't going to do anything for anyone. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's just about it. And I bring it back to optimizing your existing systems and getting the most out of what you're using. Um, because if it's not paying for itself, odds are you're not using it right. And I guess there are some times where it's not working, but
Right.
that's less frequent.
Right. And well, in that instance too, I mean, the squeaky wheel always gets the oil. So if it
Exactly.
isn't paying for itself, then, making sure that the company that you are subscribed to is making
Hmm.
sure that it starts to pay for itself, right? Because
Exactly.
making sure that you're the squeaky wheel, making sure all of your team knows exactly how to work it
Yep.
and how to work it, and that you're getting that support from the company as well, which I know FCS and Java is really great at.
Exactly. And we try to be, right. And
Yeah.
we can't always do everything. We do the best we can. You can lead a horse to water, kind of
Yeah.
concept. And so there is some different accountability levels where, especially I've worked with some contractors that need to put their foot down a little bit with some of their people, because let's face the reality. People don't like change, even if there's positive benefits and things like that. And some of your managers and your employees and things like that, they don't own the company, so to them, learning something new or doing something different is just more of a hassle, really,
Yeah.
and a lot of times, you have good people, they understand that the benefits outweigh it and it actually makes their job easier and it's a win-win for everyone. But there are times that that business owners or roofing company owners do need to take accountability and put their foot down and tell their people, no, this is what we're doing. I a good story is I have a contractor that built a good relationship with out of Colorado, and one of the features in FCS is a tool called QuickBid that allows you to I always joke that it's like the would you like fries with that concept. So it's like during a service call, you can document and propose additional repairs. So if you're just going out to fix a leak, but then your tech identifies a handful of other items, they can do a quick bid that will create a repair proposal right there on the spot that the office can send off to a decision maker, all just like this, right? And he had this instance where he was trying to implement this because their business model is they want all the little jobs that everyone else doesn't want. So
Yeah.
every time you step foot on a roof, they want him documenting these items. And he had a tech that just was like, no, why would I do that? I'm here to fix the leak. I'm going to do that and leave. And he had to make an example of him, and he fired him in front of the entire company and said, you do quick bids on every job or you don't work here, and had to let the guy go. And,
Yeah.
it's that kind of accountability that you need sometimes because these things are that important to the business.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great example because that's what these conversations are all about, right? Is those
Right.
tangible takeaways of like, yeah, sometimes you have to make the tough decision and like you said, put
Yeah,
it down.
you do.
Hopefully you don't have to, but sometimes
Exactly.
you do.
Hopefully everyone just gets on board and they
Yeah,
understand, but if life's not always that easy.
right. Is there any advice you would give to the people out there listening in a like about that how to kind of position it to your team as this is gonna like help you in the long run to, not stay after work or whatever.
Yeah, no, you said it really well. Is positioning it to the team that it's a good thing, not only for the company but for themselves too. And a lot of times that comes off having good processes, having good training materials. You got to make it easy for your team to adopt new things. That's very important.
Yeah.
But you said it really well. I mean, just you got to just level with people and say, look, that we have to do this. Like we can't just keep going out there and manually doing this, or we can't keep doing our service work orders on paper anymore. It's got to differentiate ourselves. So I think it's just about like leveling with your people and trying to get them to resonate with the objectives.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so on that note, what are some hesitations you've seen contractors have about technology and how do
Yeah.
you address them?
100%. I mean, I guess we'll start at the top, worth the money. I mean, that goes back to like what I said before. If it's not paying for itself, you're not using it right.
Yeah,
And then these things can be costly, they're not cheap, but the reason they're not cheap is because they're beneficial, right? Nothing good in life is free, essentially, or
yeah,
most of the time it's not. So I think that's the big one is you got to make sure that if you're going to make this level of investment into your business, that you're picking the right solution, right? And that it aligns with the objectives and goals of your company so that you can maximize that ROI. So for number one, if it doesn't pay for itself, you're either using it wrong or it's the wrong program. User friendliness. I mean, like I kind of touched on earlier, I hear a lot of people being concerned that their tech's in the field. I don't really, I mean, sometimes, but it's not very common where like a business owner is worried about their office team or their admins being able to do this. It's usually their field techs.
got it.
And what I would say in that is, yes, they can. like I was
Yeah.
saying earlier, do they text? Do they go on social media? They do.
Yeah.
Almost everyone knows how to use a smartphone these days,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you can simplify it. I mean, you can, if you're worried about that too, you can strip the phone down to only have a few things. But,
Mhm.
the systems, especially roofing specific software like FCS or Java or a BidPad product or anything, even Company Cam too, they try and make it really simple, and that's intentional. So what I will say for that is you can teach an old dog new tricks, number one. And number
Mhm.
two, these things are a lot easier than people think. And you got to give your guys some credit, right? Can they
Yeah.
can they click three buttons and take a picture? Yeah. Yeah, they
And
can.
a lot of times people looking for jobs out there are looking for a company that's very technology forward
Yeah,
and willing to bring in new things and new technologies. So a lot of
totally.
times that's a hiring point as well.
100%. You bring up a really good point with that too, because I know the roofing industry sometimes can struggle with attracting good talent. That's always a hard thing, is finding people that want to get involved in the industry. Um, and you're right, you can use that as a leverage point of that you're a technology forward company. I've seen recently, over the last few years, even people that I have personal relationships with that get jobs at roofing companies as like their tech admin, right? It opens up a whole new job possibility and career path for your people.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a great point.
Have you seen any success stories of some of these, old school roofers getting comfortable with these new technologies?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Especially like when we go to the IRE trade
Yeah.
shows or any of the other shows, these guys come up and they love to brag about it, like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. I even teach them how to do it, and so 100% these, like I said, you can teach an old dog new tricks, and I see it every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
And let's actually, before I move on, let's talk about
Yeah,
data security a little bit.
totally.
What
That's
are
a good one.
what are some things people can do to make sure that their data is safe?
100%. And so I'll speak from a point of experience, like with our softwares, with FCS or Java or BidPad or any of our
Yeah.
products, is they're cloud hosted, right? So we use services like Google or Amazon or Microsoft or these big companies that we utilize their cloud servers, right? And it's a level of comfort, because I do still deal with contractors sometimes that don't trust the cloud, if you will.
Yeah.
And so again, it's just a comfort level thing that I think people are gonna have to open up to. I mean, in terms of data security, one, if someone really, really wants something, you're not, even if you have a local server in your office, if someone really, which, I don't know a lot of people that are out there hunting for project data, but
Yeah.
but if they are, I mean, if people have a motivation, they'll figure it out. But I
Yeah.
will say though, using cloud technology and cloud servers and hosting all of these things is very secure. There's backups, there's, it's an extremely secure environment. And so I think it's just important, as you're working with different software providers, I deal with it all the time when we're doing presentations, is ask the questions about who you're hosting with. Make sure the data is being hosted with reputable companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, different things like that.
Okay. And then passwords, like how often should those be changed?
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing with passwords is try and follow the recommendations that the system gives you. Use multiple characters, try and think of something unique. In terms of changing passwords, I mean, try and implement a couple times a year. I personally don't think it's necessary that you need to like do it once a quarter or do it every
Okay.
month, or in my
Right.
opinion, it's not doing much. But have unique passwords, right? Don't make your password 123. Make it
Maybe
like a
4.
combination of a few different words and add some letters and special characters. But you're pretty safe. Like I said, I mean, if someone's really trying to hack into your system or something, they're just gonna try and find a way in. They don't, they're gonna try and get through like a back door. They don't always just need your password. So
Got it.
it's yeah. I mean,
Got
keep
it.
an eye on it if you have data breaches or things like that. if there's any events that occur, yeah, I would suggest everyone update their passwords, but I don't think people have to need to be too crazy about it.
Yeah. So, what is your advice on integrating new technologies with a company's team?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Take your time. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah,
You're not just going to snap your fingers and have this new thing. Most of these implementations will be at a minimum 6 weeks. I mean, you can try and get like with FCS, for example, you could start doing the inspection piece of it within a week or two for sure. But like you need to spend the time in the sessions setting it up and building your libraries, and you really should plan on these implementations at being at least a 4 to 6 week minimum transition. Sometimes
okay.
it's depending on what programs you get and what level of implementation you're trying to achieve. Sometimes these things take 6, 9, 12 months, and you need to plan ahead of time. So take your time. It's not a race. You want to walk, you want to crawl, walk, and then run. And then upgrading existing technology. I mean, it's always good to take a look at what you have in place and make adjustments. I mean, I think people should be doing this. Again, quarterly is probably too quick, but biannually, once or twice a year, evaluate your systems, look at your tech stack, review your subscriptions. What are you paying for? What are you not using? What's not paying for itself? And
Yeah,
making those adjustments. I think, especially with the rate of evolution that technology is going these days, you want to keep up with those things because, every 6 months, it can be drastic changes and making sure you have the newest updates and that you're aware of everything. So,
yeah.
keeping up with your tech stack and trying to evolve that is very important.
That is so good.
Yeah,
And even, I mean, your tech stack can include, I'm just thinking personally, like I'm like
totally.
Adobe, we have Canva, we have all the different,
Yep,
content creating things. What making sure quarterly, twice a year, what have you, making sure we're using them
totally.
and that, they're paying for
You're get
themselves. That's so
exactly that they're
true.
paying for themselves and
Yeah.
that everyone uses it, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm guilty of it too. You have a moment where you're like, oh, this would be really cool. I should use this. And you sign up and then you don't end up, you get busy
Yeah.
and you don't end up using it, but you're still paying for it.
I
And
know.
and
Yeah.
and another thing too is set a budget, set a technology budget that you want to spend every month and make sure you're spending it.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're getting the tools that you need and try and stick to that budget. So it's different things people can do.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. We've already come up to close to an hour. We have a
Yeah,
few more, one more slide left and a few more questions, but
totally.
what are some red flags that signal that a tech rollout is going too fast or not being embraced?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I would think a good one would be because I see this a lot too, is where people they don't stay consistent with like I said, we offer a lot of training sessions, right? And a lot of hand holding. A
Yeah.
lot of times people are very quick to, oh, this came up, can I reschedule? Or oh, and
Yeah.
we have these trainings laid out very specifically to be learned and consumed in a certain time in a certain order. It's like learning anything else. You need to put time in between to allow yourself to process, but then you need to pick back up. So I think red flags is like if people are constantly rescheduling and not showing up for training sessions, we try and assign like homework, make sure these things get done. So I think it's just about accountability and making sure people show up. And again, another big red flag is if it's not paying for itself. I
Yep. Exactly.
think that's a good metric and a good measure point.
Yeah. Okay, so lastly, where do you see the future of technology moving for
Totally.
the roofing industry?
I mean, I think even in the next handful of years, there'll be things that we can't even comprehend being available right now, especially as AI
So true.
continues to develop and advanced
Mhm.
computing. And, the future, though, I think the more immediate future is, like I said, going to be a lot more of this AI adoption of training manuals and the ability to process information at a more rapid pace is going to be very drastic, and I think it's going to happen very fast. So I think definitely keep an eye on those trends. We try and put out like good like blogs and valuable material of letting people know like even more of like technology updates in the industry. There's also just like really good newsletters that you can subscribe to that are just generalized technology newsletters and software newsletters that
Ah,
aren't always just roofing specific. Like I try and spend a lot of time and look at non-roofing software and
yeah,
see what kind of roofing application it can have, just because there's so many options. So to me, the future is heavily surrounded around AI and the capabilities of that.
yeah, yeah, that's huge. John Kenny just put in a really great comment in the
Yeah,
chat. It says one of the big contractors is trying to get all techs onboarded at the same time. Get
yeah,
one tech team onboarded well, and then add each team after that onboarded the same way.
totally.
So that's
And
great.
John's speaking from experience with that too. He's run teams and has worked with businesses that have these. I mean, these are proven best practices,
Yeah,
right? It's not just an idea. And so,
yeah,
and you're right, get the success of one team. And what you can find happens is that team's operating at full capacity. They're efficient, they're flowing, they're clicking. People can get jealous. The other crews can go, how are they doing so much more? How come they don't have to come to the office at the end of the day and upload all this stuff? Why are they out at home with their families already? Why don't we have that? And it can drive this, you know, kind of jealousy, if you will, in people that make them want to do the adoption. But beyond that, it's just from a success standpoint, is very intelligent.
yeah, yeah. Well, Zach, thank you so
Of
much
course, Megan.
chatting with me. We've had so many great questions. So thank you
Yeah,
all out there for sending them in. I don't think there's any left. But please feel free to reach out to Zach or
yeah.
me. You can find all of Jabba and FCS's information on their directory on rooferscoffeeshop.com as well as
Hmm.
CoatingsCoffeeShop.com. This has been a really great conversation. So thank you,
Yeah,
Jabba. Thank you,
of course.
FCS. And thank you, Zach, for doing this with me.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate it too. And thank you guys for providing a good platform that, provides knowledge to the contractors. We're happy to be able to help people. And like Megan said, if anyone has any technology, software thoughts or questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm an open book.
Absolutely. You can find Zach's contact info, just general contact info for Jabba and FCS at their directory on CoatingsCoffeeShop.com. So thank you so much, Zach. And
Of
we'll
course.
see all of you next month for the next Coatings Talk.
Thanks, everyone. Take it easy.
Have a good one.
Bye
Thanks.
bye.